My name is Matt Rudisell, and I've been a business owner for the past 24 years, helping others get what they want out of life. I help people and businesses grow with the help of one-on-one coaching, social media assistance, and planning that will get them to that next level. But instead of working with you myself, I developed this podcast to share with you what others are actually doing. These people are your neighbors, your friends, could also be you. But do you consider yourself an expert? Do you know someone who is? Have you ever wondered what it takes to become that person? Well, today in this episode of the Experts Game podcast, our guest will share with you the struggles, hardships, and successes they've experienced on their way to becoming an expert in their field. You don't want to miss it, so grab your notebook and pen, and we'll get started in just a moment. Hey guys, good morning. Today is a wonderful day, and we're excited to be back with the Experts Game podcast. I am really excited about our guest today. I've known Renardo for a good while, and we've developed a really good friendship over the years. I don't want to tell too much of his story because I want him to tell it, but I do want to start with a brief little interview for him. And I'll start out by just basically saying that in 2008, he graduated from Gardner-Webb University with a degree in sports management. That may come in handy a little bit later when we start talking about what he's doing today. But in 2015, he went and got his real estate license. And I think he has really hit the ground running since then. He wrote in his bio that for the past 4 years, he's been doing real estate, but his previous careers included sports director for the Gaston County YMCA, logistics manager for the Bosch Rexroth Group, and a safety facilitator for Home Brands, Inc. And to me, that's very diverse. So we're excited to hear why all these different things and what has pushed Renardo to where he's at today, because I can guarantee you that these things that he's done in the past have all been leading up to his future. So we're excited to have Renardo in the house today. Renardo, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Matt. Thanks so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, fantastic. Well, I probably left out lots of stuff, so just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, obviously from your introduction, and thanks for the introduction, by the way, I have done a lot. And it's almost like you kind of just throw everything against the wall and kind of see what sticks. I will say this, my interest, you got to catch me while I'm interested, because I may be interested in this one week, and then next week I may be interested in something totally different. If you look behind me, you'll see these books. I'm always interested in learning new things, so, and I'm never satisfied, I think that's one of some people may view it as a weakness, but I view it as a strength. People say you spread yourself too thin, because they have so many different interests or whatever. But I was born and raised here in Gaston County. As you can tell, I went to Gardner-Webb. I played sports all my life. I love sports. Sports was really my thing. It gave me that competitive edge, if you will. And it also gave me the discipline that has actually helped me in a lot of areas in my life. So when I first graduated, I had always went to the YMCA. And Tony Sigmund, who's now the CEO, I think, in Bowie's Creek, had called me and he said, hey, we have a sports director job coming open, and I think you'd be great for this position. And just so happened with sports management, there was an internship, and you had to do that before you graduated. So it was perfect because the acting sports director was actually exiting. And so I was actually able to pick up where he left off. And I did that job. It was really cool. It gave me a really good introduction to the real world, if you will. But I quickly found out that uh, coaching little league soccer, it just wasn't my thing, you know. And so I ended up leaving there. And believe it or not, one thing I did not say was when I left the Y, I actually did landscaping for a while. I mean, it's
Okay.
just, who does landscaping? So I did landscaping for a while. I really enjoyed that. And when I say landscaping, we did a lot of hardscaping work. We built brick patios, decent landscaping irrigation, who's really popular around the Gaston County and the Belmont area. I worked with Jim for a little over a year. And in doing so, it taught me a lot about business and behind the scenes. I seen how he ran his business, how he got clients and all that good stuff. It was really fun, and it kept me in shape. And I'll tell you something. Whenever him and his wife would leave and go out of town, they had a farm in Sherrills Ford. And I went up there, and Nadine was a real estate broker. And there was this book, and it was written by Gary Keller, and it was called The One Thing. And again, as you can tell, I'm a reader. So I sat down and I read that book, and I was like, wow, real estate. That sounds like an interesting career. So I always kind of put that in the back of my mind. People always have told me that I had the gift of gab, and I never meet a stranger, and that may be a good career for me to go into. And again, I'm still young. I'm basically at this point, Matt, trying to find my way. you know. And for those people who graduate college and know exactly what they want to do, God bless you guys. I didn't. I had to find that out. And so once I left Jim Deason, I ended up going to the Bosch Rexroth Group. And actually, one of my former friends and former colleagues at the Y actually had a director position there. And he told me about the managerial position of Bosch Rexroth. And so I applied and I got it and quickly found out, say about actually I stayed there for 4 years, that logistics wasn't my thing either. And I left there, and another good friend of mine, Steve Mays, who was roommates with me at Gardner Webb, he told me about a position at, it was actually Haynes Brands Incorporated. Haynes Brands, they make the undergarments and all that good stuff. That's why I was a safety facilitator. And I was there until, I would say, 4 years as well. And then during the pandemic, I decided to make the big leap because while I was at Bosch Rexroth, I did actually go and get my real estate license and started practicing part-time, and actually was pretty successful. It kind of come from out of nowhere. And then once I left Haynes, I'm here now.
Wow. That's definitely a lot of different things, but I don't find it much different than my life. And I think that's probably why we connected so much. One thing that I did see is back when you were in college, you were a member of the student government, you were a resident advisor, you were one of the presidential associates, and you were also the VP of the sports management club. So you were heavily involved. And one common thread I found with all that was that you're a people person. And I knew that when I met you, but honestly, that's what all of those positions have set you up for. So they have really culminated and kind of put you in that position where you're at now. And I think that, whether you stay in real estate for years and years down the road or you don't, the people aspect of it is where you're headed. You have a love for people, and I think that's really important. Let me ask you, you've kind of talked about some of these different businesses and how you chose them, but I want to go back to the college time period. What made you choose to get a degree in sports management? Was it just the sports that you had played before, or was there something else in that arena?
It was the sports played a part in it. I've always been interested in athletics and exercise and staying healthy. But quite honestly, Matt, when I first went to Gardner Webb, I had planned on being an educator.
Hmm.
And for the first 3.5 years, I was going to become a high school history teacher. Okay. But I was one of these guys, obviously, you just named everything that I did in college. I had fun and I needed to graduate. So I remember going to my advisor and I was like, so the people in the loan department said I've borrowed as much as I can for my undergrad. Like, what am I going to do? And so she looked at all the courses I had taken and she said, so well, from what I see here, if we can piece this together, and you take these 4 core classes in sports management, which we know you have an interest in sports, you can major in sports management. I can have you out of here in the summer of '08. And I was like, sign me up. So as much as I would like to say, I had this great epiphany, to major in sports management, it did not happen that way.
That's hilarious. I love it. I love that story, and I think that I think a lot of us are like that. We do things out of either necessity or out of happenstance, or things just occur in our lives, and I think that's really cool. Well, let me ask you this: today, you're doing real estate full time.
Mhm.
How would you describe your normal workday? What do you do?
So one of the things that's really important to me, Matt, and you've actually come to my home and you've seen my home office here, is when I first wake up in the morning, I come in here while the shades are still drawn and I get quiet. I get quiet. Some people call it meditation. I call it simply getting quiet. And I try to really just ease all my thoughts, all my anxieties. It's almost like I'm getting, ready for the day, getting ready to feel the character called Renardo. You know what I mean? So I'll do that for about 20 minutes. Okay. I'll read a devotional, something motivational, inspirational, just to kind of get get the positivity flowing for the day. After that, again, exercise is still very important. I don't lift weights as much as I used to because I'm 30. I'll be 38 next Tuesday, Lord willing, and my joints, trust me, they tell me that all the time. So we don't lift weights anymore, but I love walking. It's very cathartic for me. So I'll walk a couple miles, and then I'll come home. And I always, the day before, I kind of plan out my day. I put at least 4 things that's a top priority. And after I exercise and shower and get something to eat, I attack those 4 objectives. And then after that, the middle part of my day, which is after lunch, I spend lead generating. That's, doing follow-up calls, uh, cold calling, studying the market, you know. And then after that, I'll take a break, Matt, and I'll do something fun. I'll go and I don't know, I may go shop. I love shopping, you know. I'm also pro Second Amendment, so I may go to the shooting range, let off some steam. And then when I get back toward the latter part of the day, it's just responding to emails, following up. And that's the thing, that you're a real estate broker, you're never really off from real estate.
Mhm.
Especially if you're in the middle of a deal, you get a call at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and it's just like game on. But yeah, that's about it.
Wow, that's fantastic. One thing that you said in the middle of that really caught my attention, and actually 2 different things. And I try to do very similar things. As you mentioned, I'm a real estate broker as well. I was on the phone last night, probably about 7:15 with a septic company,
Hmm.
and trying to work out a few things. And one thing that you mentioned is that you plan your day and you try to take some time and be quiet. One rule that I have always had, and maybe not always, but I started it back in the middle 2000s, I guess. maybe the early 2000s, is that my desk is always clean at the end of the day. No matter what I've done, no matter where I'm at, my desk is clean. And the reason I do that is so when I walk in the very next morning, I'm not already overwhelmed. I don't have anything on my plate. Everything may be stuffed in my book bag, but it's not on my desk in front of me. So it kind of gives me a little bit of that peace and a little bit of that quiet time as well. But the other thing that you said that really stood out a lot was your break time in the afternoon. I love it. I think that's great. I do that as well. I'm not as consistent maybe with it. I don't necessarily take, from 1 to 3 every single day. And I don't know if you do that or not, but it's a great idea. It kind of rejuvenates you. It kind of refreshes you for the rest of the day. What made you start doing that?
Well, because I think sometimes if you're so focused on something, you won't be at your best. You need the recess time. It's almost like when we were kids, we all had recess for 30 minutes or so, and then you come back and you're refreshed. It's almost like a segment of refreshment for me. When I come back from, the recess, if you will, I'm refreshed. I'm sharper, than I was when I left. So that's very important to me. And some may not agree with it, but that's what I do.
Well, I definitely agree with you there. I think that it's a huge plus. I know a lot of us, we work so hard, even when we take a vacation, it's not fun. We work hard to get ready for the vacation. While we're on the vacation, we're stressing about what work we didn't finish. And when we get back, it's straight, to the grind again. And what I have found and what I have learned to do is I've learned how to work on vacation. And I know that sounds like, oh my gosh, I'm throwing so much more at the plate, but that's not true. What I do is I'm able to take time off without stressing before I go away. And then I'll throw in, maybe a Tuesday night I'll spend doing a call or a class or a seminar or something like that. And that kind of gets it out of my system. I don't think about it anymore. And then I'm able to go on with the break after that. So I definitely think that's a wonderful thing to have every day. You need to have something that will rejuvenate you. And I think that's probably why you do it. So I encourage you to keep doing that. I think that's a great tool. Okay, one question.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to start over, if you lost everything today and had to start over, you're looking at your stock market and it's just going crazy down, unfortunately, and you're just concerned, what would you do?
I thought about that question. I was like, that's an interesting question. Matt, you mentioned investing, and that was one of the things that I was really going to hit on, is because, being an entrepreneur, investing it's an important element because of the whole compound interest thing, because you can put money in something and you can leverage that investment to where you don't have to be there, but that money is making money for you. And I think that's been something that has really, really, really helped me out monetarily, is my investments. We've talked about crypto. So I think I would really, well, if the market has failed, the stock market, I'm also invested in Forex. I don't know if you heard of that, as well as crypto. So while one isn't doing so well, the other one is. So I would hope that one of those are doing well for me. But going back to the introduction, I'm not afraid to roll up my sleeves and take a job to while I'm pushing dirt until I figure out my next best move. So I think the answer to that question is just contingent on what's all going on at the time, and me really sitting down and figuring out what's my next best move. One thing about it is I won't sit still, that's for sure.
What would you move towards? What type of business? Would you start a new business, or would you go work for somebody else? Or do you even Have you ever thought about that?
I would definitely start another business. I think the 9 to 5 has definitely ran its course with me. I just
Hmm.
can't see myself doing that. And again, it really depends on the situation because I think I would just have to look at, you know, what service can I provide that people need? Do you get
Hmm.
what I'm saying? To start the business. Again, Matt, I had a background in landscaping. Everybody needs a yard guy, you know. Uh, who's to say I won't buy a truck and a trailer and a zero turn mower and go out and start a lawn business? You see what I'm saying? That's one of the advantages I think that I have with my diverse background. I can
Hmm.
do it all, but it
Yeah.
will definitely be a business. It will not be where I'm working for someone else. And it's not just because I'm defiant. It's just who I am. I
Yeah.
like freedom. I like getting up, making my own schedule. You know, I like being free. Now
Hmm.
that's you know as good as it sounds. Sometimes that can be scary. Being an entrepreneur is almost like, oh my God, today this was very productive. I got all my things done on my list. I'm ahead of the game. I'm great. And then other days it's like, what have I got myself into?
Hmm.
And then I'll go back, Matt, and actually have my resume saved on my computer. And I'll go back and I'll look at it. But I just really can't give that any energy now. I think again, this goes back to my diverse background. Having all those jobs and occupations really taught me that I am supposed to be an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
So then I quickly close it back down, take the junk drive out, and focus on my business.
Yeah. Fantastic. I think that's great inspiration too, because a lot of us we get into that spot where what have we got ourselves into? But
Yes,
then the next moment we're thinking, I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean,
mhm,
this is exactly what I like. Okay, so we've talked a lot about you helping people. Everything that we've talked about today seems to revolve around people, and that's why I kind of started with all those things that you did in college. But now I want to know one thing that you do for yourself that may be a hobby or a special interest, something that other people don't know. And if you don't want to share, that's fine. But if you do, if there's one thing, let me know what it is.
absolutely. A lot of people say that ladies like flowers. I'm the flower guy. I love flowers. Um, I can't remember when you were here. I think it was warm, but my patio is full of flowers, and I try to keep them. If you can look, well, can't show you here, but I have my money tree here, snake plants, cacti, and it's just I don't know. Maybe that's comes from the landscaping background, but I love flowers, and some
Hmm.
people think that's so weird for a guy to like flowers, but that's my hobby. I love gardening. I like having my hands in the dirt, to take a seed and to plant it and to grow it and to nurture it and to prune the leaves off. Like that's my thing. I would even be interested in one day maybe even having a florist. And it's funny
Awesome.
because my wife's grandmother, she worked for a florist on her,
Hmm.
while she was
Okay.
living. So um me liking flowers really got my wife into flowers, and so we are plant parents, and that's
That's
something that we
awesome.
enjoy. A lot of people don't know about that.
Well, that is fantastic. That's really cool. I see that maybe in your future one day. You never know.
Maybe.
Okay, today's been great, Renardo. Thank you so much for all this advice and everything that you've given us today. I've got one final question, then I'm going to let you go.
Sure.
Any tips you have for somebody that might be just out of college or out of high school, getting started? What kind of entrepreneurial tips do you have for them?
Follow your heart.
Mm,
I'm one. I'll be 38 again next Tuesday, Lord willing, and my wife and I have been married 6 years now, and we don't have any children. And people say, well, what are you guys waiting on? And I say that to say, don't do what society tells you that you should do, but follow your heart. Even if it scares you, just
mm,
go with your gut. you know, and more importantly, do it your way, be a maverick, if you will. I think again, I've always had that sort of go against the grain mentality, and sometimes it's really worked and been beneficial, and other times it hasn't. But that's okay. And I will also tell them, don't be afraid to make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? And don't be afraid to look silly. This was actually my very first interview. This is my debut. So, I hope I gave you what you want, but
Yeah.
don't be afraid to challenge yourself. In fact, I encourage you to do things to make you nervous. I mean, you would be surprised at how much time I prep for this. It's like I'm good just talking to you one on one. We've talked for hours, but it's just something about me. Said, okay, I'm getting ready to record now. It's like, oh, it's kind of nervousness, but that also, these kind of experiences also what I live for. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to challenge yourself, and more importantly, do things your way. It's like the Frank Sinatra song. I did it my way.
Wow.
Love it. Mm-hmm.
You've definitely given us a lot of hope and motivation, inspiration today. I know you said you maybe prepared a little bit, but you didn't need to. I mean, this is something that you're a natural at. I mean, this is great, and I definitely appreciate all of the answers today, because it's going to help a lot of the people listening. So, guys, thank you so much for being here today. We definitely want to thank Renardo again for being here, and for being a one of the people that we consider an expert. So if you would, please make sure you like this channel. Please make sure you subscribe, and comment below on what you'd like to see in the next few weeks. Let us know if you are an expert that we should call on. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.
Thank you, man.
Renardo, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Lit. I'm the producer.